Hey guys, welcome to Comics Pull List, the show where we discuss some of the biggest new comics to come out this month. This episode will be reviewing the long-awaited Justice League Dark #1, Detective Comics number 985, and Teen Titans number 20, introducing a whole new team roster. Remember to show some support to the creative teams behind the books and pick them up at your local comic book shops, Comixology, or through the links below on Amazon. Also, some incredibly exciting news on August 5th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 7 p.m. Pacific, I'll be conducting a live interview with the current writer of Detective Comics, Brian Edward Hill. We'll be talking a lot about his work in storytelling between different mediums, his experience, a bit about him, and so much more. Again, I can't say enough how ecstatic I am to be having him on the show. Also, we'll be taking some live questions from the audience at some point, so be sure to sub to the channel and click that button to be notified when we go live. Before you forget, click that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content, and be absolutely sure to hit that little bell button so you know when our videos go up. With that being said, let's not waste any more time and get right into the books. Issue 1 of Justice League Dark by James Tynion and Alvaro Martinez is one of two long-awaited offshoots from the Justice League title in the post-No Justice landscape. Before we move forward, I just have to point out that both the original cover and the variant cover by Greg Capullo are crazy spectacular. Those are worth the price of admission on their own. We join in on issue 1 with the magician Zatanna as she performs her regular act back in her father's old theater. Via internal monologue, Zatanna discusses the principles of illusion and how they're key to establishing the set of rules behind magic. The illusionist will only show you the impossible that you wish to see. As her act proceeds, she places her hand inside her hat, only to pull out the carcass of a dead rabbit. A Lovecraftian-esque monster erupts from the hat, attacking the crowd. In a post-metal and No Justice landscape, we learn that the disturbance in magic has reached its peak as Zatanna's magic is absolutely useless in stopping the creature. Luckily, Wonder Woman arrives just in time to help combat the creature as Zatanna's spells continue to rebound against her. The two take a more physical approach and are able to subdue the beast. Based on their conversation, since the events of No Justice, Diana has been attempting to build a team to explore the dark reaches of DC's mystic landscape and uncover the truth to its recent abnormalities. Diana's attempts are to no avail as Zatanna declines so that she can find the answer on her own terms. As we catch back up with Zatanna outside in a courtyard, the mysterious third-person narrator contrasts the danger and the untapped creative potential of magic in the DC universe. That being why she must protect it, because without magic, the DCU is deprived of miracle. We soon learn that the courtyard leads to the home of Jason Blood, the human host of the demon Etrigan. Inside, a conference of DC's masters of the magic arts. As a cigarette is lit, a familiar voice rings from behind her, only to reveal the master of the occult, John Constantine. Tynion reminds the audience as of the New 52, Zatanna and Constantine were in a relationship together, which explains her animosity towards him. For some reason unbeknownst to me, Zatanna blames John for the death of her father. I'm not sure if I've missed something or if Tynion is retconning it into existence, so let me know in the comments down below. Constantine poses the possibility here for Zatanna to take up arms with him and potentially Wonder Woman's group, rather than the brew of good, bad, and ugly that lies inside the mansion. Can I just put it out there right now that Tynion's characterization of John is nailed to a T. If he's ever on a Hellblazer book with Alvaro Martinez, DC, take my money. Constantine says that with everything going on in the multiverse, the realm of magic will never be the same, and questions whether or not Zatanna can handle it. We join Wonder Woman and Detective Chimp in a place between worlds, the Oblivion Bar. Feeling at a loss for being unable to recruit Zatanna, Diana wonders why her most trusted magical comrades won't lend her a hand. The dialogue here between Detective Chimp and Diana is spectacular. While Wonder Woman is having an internal crisis, the Chimp just suggests that no one likes her, and that's why they won't help her out. Since the murder of Nightmaster in Dark Knight's Metal, Detective Chimp has actually become the proprietor of the bar and the Sword of Night, making him a protector of a magical realm. At the end of the two recalling their doubts about overcoming the obstacles in front of them, Chimp hops off the bar, deciding to join Wonder Woman in uncovering the truth behind the magic in the DCU. Meanwhile, at Winter's Gate Manor, the home of Jason Blood, the cabal of DC's biggest magical beings meet to discuss the disturbances. Like Zatanna, the rest of the magical community refuses to acknowledge the efforts of Wonder Woman and her new Justice League team because of their disconnection with magic. We catch a glimpse of longtime favorites like Zariel, Lucifer, Morgaine, Clarion the Witch Boy, and more. In the corner, however, an unknown avatar of magic watches on. Wonder Woman and Detective Chimp take a trip deep beneath the Hall of Justice to their new base of operations. We learn that the longtime Batman villain and nocturnal menace Man-Bat, Dr. Kirk Langstrom, has been helping Diana in order to reconcile for his crimes. Langstrom has been analyzing the bodies of several victims to magic's unpredictability as of late. The genetic structures of each corpse have been altered by whatever energy has been tipping the magical balance of the universe. Maybe it's dark matter exposure from the dark multiverse or something beyond the source wall. Either way, I'm pretty excited to find out. At the Tree of Wonders, Zatanna confronts the mysterious watcher from the meeting, Swamp Thing. She goes on to bust the Alan Moore impersonator for not being more involved in the issue at hand. Zatanna resents the fact that the Guardian of the Green is just observing, and trying to find his place in the conflict. As Swamp Thing tries to communicate with the Tree of Wonder, we learn that it's not actually a member of the Green, meaning that the tree was not meant to last, but to be a beacon of life in the cosmos. The tree attempts to communicate with Zatanna by taking the form of her father. He says that the distortion in magic is only becoming worse by the second, and that his biggest fears are materializing as the architects of magic are coming. The powers that destroyed him were supposedly only a sliver of their power, and that the only person that can stop the other kind may also be the one to hasten the destruction of magic in its entirety. We get a peek of the other kind's potential leader in the downright creepy Upside Down Man. Wait, is that Dr. Fate in the corner? Bless. Anyway, back below the Hall of Justice, the trio of Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp, and Man-Bat continue analyzing the inside-out corpses when they suddenly reanimate. As the army of bodies surround them, Langstrom administered the classic Man-Bat formula, becoming the menace of the night once again. As the issue wraps up, vines erupt from the ground as Swamp Thing, or Alan Thing as I like to call him, and Zatanna appear just in time to join the new Justice League Dark. Listen. If you're not buying this book, you're making some Secretary in the Oval Office type of mistakes. Tynion delivers pretty much everywhere, from dialogue to characterization to crazy interesting story. In a team book, it can be pretty hard to balance each character without mishandling their individual voices. My only nitpick at the issue was a somewhat childishly innocent Kirk Langstrom. Even though it was a little out of character, it was charming and I found it enjoyable, so it really didn't hinder the book at all for me. The story is constructed in a way to have direct ties to some characters we haven't seen much of as of late, and I think it'll add to their individual development in DC's current post-Flashpoint landscape. We really get a sense of something that's bigger than us that's going to be going on in the realm of DC's magical beings, and it's nothing short of menacing. The art by Alvaro Martinez Bueno is among his best work for DC. I read his entire run on Detective with Tynion, and while great, is one-upped by his work in Justice League Dark. I mean, it makes sense now that he's working on a monthly book instead of a double ship, but nonetheless his artwork pulls together all of the magical, horror, and interpersonal elements of the story. I gotta give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Go buy this book. Don't wait. Do yourself a favor and buy it now. There's a link below to snag it from Amazon, otherwise go support your local comic book shop and this spectacular title. Oh, and did I mention I'm excited to see Dr. Fate in the next issue? Next up we have Detective Comics number 985, part 3 in a 5-part story by writer Brian Edward Hill and art by Philip Briones. If you haven't been reading Hill's work on Detective, you should be. If this is your first time hearing of it, go check out our video here where we review his stellar entry into Gotham. If not, be warned, confusion ahead. Before we get rolling on the book though, I do want to let you all know that we did a live interview with the executive branch of the Hill administration, Brian himself. The beginning of the video was recorded at a different time when I thought I'd be able to finish it beforehand, so sorry about that. However, we got a rare chance to get to know a true talent in the creative sphere and how he approaches story between different mediums, characterization, and much more. Really a fantastic guy. He's actually starting up his own YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to somewhere right about here. So with that being said, let's get right into the review. After the happenings of Detective 983 and 984, the villain Karma has made Bruce debate the ethics of allowing the Bat family to assist him in his war on crime, particularly with the new villain. Surprisingly, Alfred advocates on behalf of including the family here, adding that with a threat like Karma, one would think to call in for reinforcements. It's clear that at this point Karma knows who Batman is under the cowl and that they've encountered each other at least once before. In an attempt to jog his memory, Bruce goes for a dangerous drive through the cliffs around the manor, using adrenaline to bring the memories to the surface. Bruce's inner monologue welcomes the reader into his thought process in the search for his first meeting with Karma. As Bruce pushes the car to its limits, nearly fishtailing off the cliff, he recalls a scenario a few years back in a war-torn Markovia. Batman confronts a gunrunner in combat, breaking him down with ease. We learn that the gunrunner's hands are dirty in more ways than one. He's been torturing the families of Markovian children, garnering him the moniker as the Man of Fear. In clear disgust and unwavering indignation, Batman unleashes a modified batch of Scarecrow's fear toxin as atonement for his crimes. Also, with all the Outsiders talk, anyone find it interesting that Bruce is in the country of Outsider member Geoforce? The next morning in a Gotham safe house, Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning, debates the motives and clarity behind Batman protecting the family with Batgirl, Orphan, and the Signal. Jefferson musters both his experience as a hero and as an educator to try and talk sense into the three. However, Barbara fires back, arguing that the whole reason Bruce set up his rules was to test Black Lightning's decision making. Across town, Karma shoots up a local school bus and holds the children inside hostage. In pursuit of his master plan, Karma also abducts a popular news correspondent. Meanwhile, at Wayne Manor, Black Lightning tries to make sense of what's going on by consoling with Alfred. He expresses that from the beginning he's doubted what he has to offer and how he can make a difference in the Bat family. Alfred reassures him that Bruce makes his decisions with absolute certainty. His choice involving Jefferson was a show of faith in Jefferson's instinct and his reason. On a live broadcast across Gotham, a distressed news reporter delivers a message to the city on behalf of Karma. He tells the city that he shouldn't have been able to abduct the school children, and that if Batman hadn't fallen from grace, he would have stopped him. He reiterates to the city that in his prime, Batman would punish those who do wrong. But by involving others in his crusade, he's lost the strength and resolve needed to do so. Here we explore Karma's goals as he presents Batman with an almost impossible ultimatum. But I'm going to leave it to everyone else watching to go and read the book for yourselves to find out. Trust me, it's definitely worth the read. Overall, Detective 985 doesn't disappoint. In my previous episode of Pull List, I'd said that my one gripe was that Karma's motivations are a bit too similar to the Joker's in the Death of the Family story arc. Having gone through more of the story, I realized that while similar, Karma's motives actually have very distinct differences. The story, as I understand it, is a confrontation with Sin's past. Batman had ultimately created Karma, albeit Karma is a psychopath and reacted to the encounter unlike most people would. That being said, like all of Batman's great villains, Karma is a reflection of a piece of Batman's psyche, right? Karma's drive to take his trauma by way of his first encounter with Batman and turn it into what he believes is a force for good isn't too dissimilar to how Bruce took the tragedy from the murder of his parents. Narratively, having a villain like this makes Bruce question how he operates, causing him to cope with the fact that Karma wouldn't exist without him. If you think about it, Karma needs Batman to be the goddamn Batman, for his own sake. What motivates him to push Bruce back to a more hard-knocks Batman is ultimately a delirious version of pride. To him, it's okay to lose to the legend, but not a compassionate man, and certainly not a brand. By Batman's symbol being diluted, in his mind, it forces Karma to consider that he'd admitted defeat to something short of greatness. So in order for him to be great, Batman must be even more so. With that being said, I think that the strength of Batman's sin is pretty detrimental to his development as a character, which might I add is difficult to do with nearly 80 years of story under his belt. By the end of this issue, Bruce questions himself. That might sound simple, but for the most driven character in all of fiction, that's no easy feat. That's the glory of Karma. He forces a man with uncompromisable drive and incorruptible fury to reconsider the very things that drive him. Unlike most of Batman's villains, there's no question that Bruce was directly at fault for the birth of Karma. The fact that Karma exists and is doing these unspeakable things ties directly into Batman exposing him to the fear toxin and leaving him there to suffer. Going back to their first encounter, there are undeniable similarities between how Bruce lost his parents and how Karma had tortured parents in front of their children in Markovia. So is it possible that Batman's abuse of Karma is a direct result of Batman losing his cool? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. When it comes to the artist Philip Briones, I've actually seen his work during the early arcs of Aquaman Rebirth, and I really dig his style. He allows the flat surfaces of pure color that push the artwork forward on the page, while using a combination of deep blacks and cross-hatching to further accentuate the depth of the artwork. I expect nothing but great when I see Briones' name on the cover, and that's what we got here. My only small gripe is that in the first half of the book, Bruce was drawn to look a little bit too young and thin for my taste. But again, that might just be something to do with how I picture Bruce Wayne. I mean, he is a fictional character after all. All in all, this book delivers. The The best Batman stories are the ones where Bruce has to overcome mental and emotional threats, and that's what we got here. Bryan Hill has created a villain that is fresh and original, that kind of represents critiques that fans have had of Batman as a character in recent years. The overarching story promotes a lot of thought, and that's what I really enjoy getting out of a book. Not to mention, Hill undeniably understands these characters on multiple levels and has shown it in every issue so far. Tech 985 is the rising action in this 5-issue arc, and I can't wait to continue reading. I gotta give this book a 9 out of 10. It's a comic that I've read about 3 times over and gained something new from it every time. Go check this book out. And remember to check out our interview with the creative mind behind the book, Brian Edward Hill. We discussed a lot about characterization, what defines them, and a little bit about his career, so don't miss out. Teen Titans issue 20 by the new creative team of Adam Glass and Bernard Chang is the inception of a new dynamic for the Teen Titans. Spawning from the Teen Titans Special Number 1, also written by Glass, we have ourselves a brand new roster for the team. At the helm we have the current Robin, Damian Wayne, the new 52 Kid Flash, Wallace West, and the current Red Arrow and sister to Oliver Queen, Emiko. Through the Teen Titans Special Number 1, we learn that the 3 sidekicks have become pretty fed up with how each of their mentors have been treating them, and they decide that it's time to play on their own set of rules. That issue in particular was pretty divisive, but if you really think about things, I don't think it should be. That being said, I quite enjoyed it, so go check that out. With that out of the way, this issue picks up with Brother Blood and his amassed followers during a ritual sacrifice. Throughout the issue, we explore Robin's thoughts and how he's approaching the birth of this new Titans team. Now obviously the Titans crash the party, but we have a few new faces that haven't really seen much screen time before, if any at all. This issue plays an introductory role for the new members, providing us with a bit of backstory and the hows and whys of their new memberships with the group. To that end, the ongoings with the team in the real time is just a narrative device to give us some character exposure. The narrative here really kicks off with Damian debating whether or not the moral high ground is the must to fight crime. He argues that things aren't so black and white anymore, and that things have changed since the heroes arrived on the scene, implicating that the classic heroes of the DCU are obsolete. The issue often cuts back in time to Damian confronting each member and asking them to join him, first off with Wallace West. Based on the happenings of the previous Teen Titans run, you should all know that they've had a really up and down relationship. So it should mean something when I say that Wallace was the first person for Damian to approach. He harps on Wallace's current distaste for his mentor Barry Allen due to the recent happenings of Flash War and the current Flash run. Finding a common ground with Damian, Kid Flash agrees to join the team on one condition: that he be treated more like a partner than a soldier. Next we move on to Red Arrow, Emiko Queen. Like many others, I've been waiting to see Emiko and Damian on a team together, so she's probably my favorite addition to the Teen Titans. With the contents of a few DC books post-Rebirth, the two have encountered each other on a few occasions. Having somewhat similar backstories, the two characters clicked fairly quick, leaving potential for a budding romance for Damian. Initially we see that Emiko has no desire to join Damian in his crusade, but using his skills as a detective, we learn that he's been keeping track of her and uses that to find a mutual ground. All the while, in the present, her character plays out as she nags at Kid Flash for being reckless. Now here's a new character on the team by way of Crush, the daughter of the bounty hunter Lobo. She's a half Zarnian like her father, but if you notice, unlike Lobo, she actually has pupils. That in context with her dialogue, I think she might also be half human. Her attitude isn't dissimilar to her dear old dad, as she's reckless, angsty, and powerful in her own right. As Crush pummels through Blood's followers in the present, we look back on her first meeting with Robin. One thing I want to highlight here is that as much as the story serves to introduce us to new characters, the display of Robin's internal monologue with the flashbacks of meeting new team members also culminate in some insight to where Robin stands in his current character development. This flashback isn't too lengthy. Robin presents himself to Crush after her essentially beating the shenanigans out of everybody in a fight club. Oh shit, I just broke the one rule of Fight Club. Unsurprisingly, we learn that Lobo is a deadbeat dad, and Crush was likely raised by a family from Earth. Robin offers to find out who took her family away from her. In return, she joins him in his mission. Next we meet Jin, a 4,000 teenage genie as she plays Possum for Brother Blood. Here we learn that even though she looks young, Jin is potentially one of the most powerful magical beings in the DCU, overpowering Blood without working up a sweat. Based on some dialogue with Blood and her power set, I think she's pretty much going to be the Raven analog for this new iteration of the Teen Titans. Her flashback I feel is potentially more of an exposition on Robin's character, even more so than herself. In their conversation with one another, Robin builds a connection with her through their mutual disconnect with the world around them. She tries to deter him by telling him that she's done some pretty bad things. But seeing as Damien was raised by the League of Assassins and the Al Ghul family, it doesn't seem to faze him, believing that she can be better than she ever was. Finally, we come to Roadhouse, and to be completely honest, there's literally no backstory for him. Kid Flash was a fan of his videos on the internet and leaves Robin with the ultimatum to let him join if he wants a speedster on his team. You know what? I'm cool with having a character for sheer comic relief. If Blast really pulls things off, he could later contrast the character's seemingly lighthearted and carefree nature with some really intense drama. Via the Teen Titans special, the 3 core members of the team encounter Black Mask, Atomic Skull, and Onomatopoeia, which we learn are now involved in some sort of cabal with Brother Blood, called The Other. From here, the narrative displays a little bit more of the team dynamic, while Robin continues to reflect on his motivations to build the team. Back at the Titans' new headquarters in, you guessed it, an abandoned Wayne Enterprise building, we catch a glimpse of the team learning how to live together, while Robin drags Brother Blood through secret corridors within the base. Robin's motivation to handle crime fighting his way comes to a head as we learn that, spoilers for Teen Titans Special number 1, he's abducted and detained each criminal of the other he's encountered so far, closing out the issue. All in all, this was a good book. Definitely pick up the Teen Titans Special number 1 so that you don't get lost in some of the references, not to mention it just adds on to what we know about the characters. I really like the Teen Tyrants type of approach that they're taking, seeing as teenagers are generally pretty angsty and are looking to do things in their own way. The team operating with complete sovereignty is a fairly new angle, and I think it leads to way more potential conflict, and by doing so, more potential story. I like that the Teen Titans book is moving in a different direction, and it definitely seems like Glass understands that the book is more about character relationships and dynamics over superhero kickassery, even though we definitely get a bit of that too. All in all, the new Teen Titans roster is exciting and fresh. Glass handles characterization and plotting well, which in a Teen Titans book is probably the most important. The art by Bernard Chang is also pretty great, and tops his recent work on both Batman Beyond and Nightwing in my opinion. Teen Titans number 20 sits at a solid 8.3 out of 10. Remember, if you want to get started with the current story arc, definitely check out Teen Titans Special number 1, and then pick up here with issue number 20, both of which you can find in the description below. Alright guys, that's it for today's episode of Comics Pull List. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of the books we discussed in this episode, and if you want to read them for yourself, the links to grab them on Amazon will be in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, comment, and share the video to help us grow. To stay updated on all of our content, you can click that little bell button and follow us on Twitter. If you have any suggestions for potential episodes, let us know. Otherwise, let's just chat comics and all things geek. Catch you guys on the next episode from Dark Knight Nation.